We're good to go.
Alrighty. Well, here we are, gang. On the 16th, and this is a workshop for the board goals for the 21-22 school year. And all kind of items here to go over. Appreciate all the work that Dr. Klein did on her goals and kind of taking some notes from our past meeting to move this forward to where we're at right now at this point. So with that said, it's been a long day.
True.
I guess probably the first thing to look at would be actually the board goals themselves and kind of look at those areas. These are all based on the WASDA standards as well.
Yes, and could I just interject something? When we had our, Eric, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. When we had our retreat our Admin Institute last week, one of the things that became crystal clear when we worked with Dr. Tammy Campbell on our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging was we came up with an overarching theme. One of the things that she discussed, and she discussed weaving equity into everything we do. It's like the thread that holds everything together. And so we participated in that with her, and then the thing that we came up with as an admin team that we are hoping will be district-wide is that 100% of all students, staff, and families will feel like they belong to the Spring School District. That's our overreaching goal for the entire year. And everything we do, whether it be academic, social, emotional, any kind of support we give to students or staff or families, our family, and I always call it family, equity and family engagement coordinator, all of the pieces, all the professional development that we're doing really feeds into that piece. And so that, I did tell them that I would bring this up at the board table for your goals as well. And it just gives a really nice, no matter what we do, we can focus on that 100% of our students, staff, and families feel like they belong. And we will take data points frequently and periodically on that in the schools and around the sites here in the district, not just with students, but with our staff as well, in each one of our sites, whether they're in the district office or the school sites or transportation or maintenance or wherever they happen to be working. But so everything we do will filter into that. And so I just wanted to preface that. So when I did my goals, I re-looked at that again and thought, okay, does this fit? Does this fit in with 100% of our students, staff, and families feeling like they belong? And so, anyway, I just wanted to put that out there for the board. When you looked at your goals, because we tied the goals to the strategic plan and the WASDA standards. And I tried to match them up. You can move them around any way you want to, but I tried to match them up so at least they were cohesive.
So I guess the question that we need to kind of look at this point is, how do we move forward with this as far as setting strategies for each one of these laid out goals that we have. One of the things that we had talked about was, do we do this, all as a group? Do each one of us take one and use that as a focus point, and then develop the pieces for that specific goal? Just some thoughts on that process.
I don't mind picking a specific one or all together, but the specific one enables us to follow up on an agenda item on down in the future.
Right.
That thing that it's on the agenda, okay, Director Stopper, you got this one.
Yeah.
Type thing. And we'll again have to revisit on December 4th, but depending on who's all there at the annual conference, we could have that chat there with our two new ones.
Right.
And I think it's good to start down right here and now, because we owe it to the staff, and we owe it to the kids.
Right.
Enlighten me on strategies. I assume we're coming up with strategies that the board is going to do, not that the district or superintendent or staff is going to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So these would be board-based strategies.
Right.
What will we do to impact that goal, which is tied, to both the strategic plan goal and the specific goal.
And I did put 3 targets down there, but that doesn't mean you need to have 3 targets. So,
Right.
for example, can you scroll back up to number 1, Tracy, please? So, for example, it says set and communicate high expectations for student learning with clear goals and plans for meeting those expectations. A strategy would be to really delve into the school improvement plans when they come up and ask questions about the data that are on them, and talk to the principals about what's in them and how, and then they're going to be back in 3 months. And if there's a committee or there's a subcommittee where a board member needs to be on, a school improvement plan committee or something.
Sorry, it's just letting you know Eric has a question.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so just a sec, Eric. So that's what I'm thinking, but, and then what activities would you ensure mastery, for example, on that particular standard that's tied in with teaching and learning? And then, when are you going to know that the evidence is completed? If you're doing this goal and you're looking at the school improvement plans, then, and eventually it'd be nice if the board got to the point where they had their own improvement, board improvement plan, but I don't think we're there quite yet. But the evidence and the date completed would probably be in June, because that's when the school year will be over, and the principals are going to be working that plan all year long. So that's just an example. And Eric does have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, well, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to just, because as I look through these, it seems like all of these things are things that maybe we all should be working on. So I just kind of wonder about piecing them out, if the goal is to have just one person on the board working on these things, or if we should all be working on it, but just one person is sort of designated to sort of bring that feedback back to the board, or those results, or I was just wondering some clarity around that potentially.
Well, the clarity that was my question. How do we want to approach it? It wasn't this way or let's do it that way. It's we have 5 of us here to decide. I will say this, and I'm perfectly good with us approaching this one step at a time. If that's the way we do it, we can just jump on number 1. We've got about 35, 40 minutes to try to get through 5 of those, in one shot. So we can get through as much as we can at this point, and then maybe finish it up at another workshop as well, unless we're that good.
Well, and the other thing I was thinking is we could go through the 5 goals, and then if one, and I'm just saying that if one person wanted to take that particular goal and work on some strategies from the board's point of view, and then bring all of it back so that we can have that discussion rather than sit here for 35 minutes and hash it out.
Right.
That might be a more efficient use of our time. I don't know. Because I agree with you, Eric. All of the board will be doing all of these things, but I can't see all 5 of you writing all 5 of these goals, because that doesn't seem as productive either.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good question. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and that's what I was thinking as well, that, you know, if we took one and focused on it individually, and then we can come back and present that, and then, you know, or we can, you know, share that in board docs and have that as a, you know, okay, go by it, let's, you know, here they are, everybody review, give your thoughts on what this section is, and then next meeting we can, you know, fine tune that.
Perhaps included in our board communications when we were going around Raleigh more.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and then that would be the ultimate piece too, is once we're, you know, once we get these set in place, just as we've, you know, tasked Superintendent Prine here to, you know, talk about specific goals at each board meeting, then when we get to board communications, that would be a great topic of focus to okay, this week we're going to focus on goal number 3, and Larry has goal number 3, so that's your board communication, something of that sort. And that way it's we're you know, we're covering something focused on where we're at with our goals and how we're impacting the students. Go ahead, Larry.
I would suggest maybe a separate agenda item rather than board communications. The specific goal for that day.
That's a good
this is what
idea.
we're talking about.
Absolutely, yeah.
'Cause
That's a good idea.
otherwise it could get lost in
You
the
bet. Something of that
shuffle.
sort.
You know, went to the Gray Wolf party and it was fun.
You bet.
And goal number 3, you know, we just have an agenda items and we know that it's either every month, we got
Yep.
5,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
maybe not every meeting, but every month we tackle a goal, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I can see all 5 of these are basically what our job is.
Mhm.
And I think that's good for all of us to focus on all of them. Because basically, we're all responsible for every one of those goals.
Right.
So I'll just.
I agree. Gino's looking at me.
Yeah.
The blank look on my face is not absence of thought, I promise. But I agree, and I acknowledge the unique challenge of, you know, we know 2 seats are going to turn over in the process.
Yeah.
And so I think someone had mentioned earlier, but I do see, despite that, you know, changeover, that this current board should, if not complete it, you know, across the finish line to hand to the new board, at the very least, queue it up, make some progress down the road to have those articulated.
So each one of the standards matches one of our strategic plan goals. So the first one is the teaching and learning strategic plan goal, and that's where we set and communicate high expectations. The second strategic plan goal, the district will engage in a multi-level approach to improve equitable methods of communication and information practices. Provide, and the WASDA standard I mastered, that was provide reasonable school district governance. But that would be where we engage community members, where we send out messages, we receive messages. I mean, that one would be really easy the data to track, I think, and the activities. And then the third one is our district will discover, develop, and nurture dynamic local and global partnerships to maximize resources which support the education of our students, and again, engage our community. And then the fourth one, I put 2 there because we have 6 goals, and I wanted to be sure we got all the goals in. Our district will develop and implement an annual budget aligned with the strategic plan that ensures equitable and efficient distribution, and our district will provide safe, sustainable, and adaptable facilities. So this would be one where the capital projects are going to come in. It also would be the one where the budget comes in and how are we spending our money, and the finance committee, and again, that would be an easy one to pull data from. And then we have 2 more here. Teaching in our district will be collaborative, focused, and reflective. And then technology will be used to support. And the reason teaching and learning is in this one is because the WASDA Standard 4 holds school districts accountable for meeting student learning expectations. So, you know, we are rolling out one-to-one when school starts. Our 6th through 12th graders will each get their own, and they'll have to check them out, and parents will have to sign unless they're 18. Then they can sign for themselves, which probably won't be too many students yet, I'm hoping. But anyway, but our K through 5th graders will have a one-to-one at school, and they will always have, like for our, we're excited because when we have to do SBA testing in the fall, it won't take weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to do it because 500 kids don't have to share 40 computers. 500 students will have they'll each have their own. So these are the standards are very, lots of I think, there's a lot of clarity in them, and it's the strategies and the activities that we do to ensure that those happen, I think will also be very clear.
Yep.
And I think, I agree if each board member could just take one of the standards and then share that information, and then we all, or you all, talk about it at a board meeting and, add to or take away from. I think at the end of a couple of meetings, you'll have your goals, and everybody can contribute to each of those goals because everybody will be doing different things out in the community or at the schools or at events or sitting on the finance committee or sitting on the safety and security committee or whatever you're doing, but everybody will be able to contribute to them. So that's just my 2 cents.
All right. Brian?
Unless it muddies the process further, I was just thinking, Pat's here, thank you, is a workshop may be more conducive to that follow-on discussion, because we could have board member heir appearance and even frankly, candidates with contested races, collaborate. Unless anyone objects, I just think it, start with the onboarding process.
I think getting the groundwork and getting this piece together and all at this point. And, and this is a workshop, so, they're welcome to participate in these as well. So that's, that's good. But, and we would continue those as workshops as we move forward to, make sure those are available out there. But moving forward, I mean, so instead of continue to jabber about it, if we, I do like the idea of just approaching this as a target, which is what we kind of did in the past. When we had our earlier board with Heather and them on here as well, we all took a different one and used these, our CEE and our other stuff to kind of look at and match those up with where the standard and the strategic goal plan and everything and how those fit together. So that was crucial to be able to do that. And I think it worked pretty well at that point, because then we had kind of a focus, came up with a focus on a direction to go with those as well. So again, in light of the time that we have to tackle all of these, we can do that. I'll jump out there and just say I'd be happy to take standard 5 here, which is our district will discover, develop, and nurture dynamic local and global partnerships to maximize resources which support the education of each. My day job may or may not have something to do with a community resource that could be utilized in that factor there, and at some point I won't have a conflict of interest to worry about that either. So if anybody has any objection to that or not?
No, sounds good, reasonable. I can give you some items on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would have like the number 3, to create conditions district-wide for student and staff success. I think safety kind of goes in there, and unless there was director Derby once. Or
I was just going to add that I had a leaning towards number 3 and number 4 which I think are the last two listed on here, right? So, either one.
It's funny, I had, kind of a thought on where some of these would land.
Okay,
Did
so
I- Did I win the pool?
What's that?
Did I win the pool?
On the pool, ding, 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 you get both of them. Yeah.
Okay, so you're engaging local community, that's just the one that
Yes.
you're going to spearhead right now?
Yes.
And then Jim, you have number 3, and Eric has number 4, is that correct? So we still have 2
So now we've got,
and 1.
I'm happy to do one. Happy to do either. I'm a short timer.
And also sorry, just to add, unless there's objection or, I'm totally flexible, so I happily to engage in the dialogue if for some reason, Director Koo or Director Jeffries, if you had your heart set on it, please let me know.
any thoughts, Larry?
No, I'm just trying to catch up here on 1, 2, and 3, make sure where you guys are talking.
I think it was the WASDA standard,
Right,
so,
like 1, 2, 3, that looks like engage local community and represents the values, expectations, is that the one you were?
WASDA standard 3 is create conditions
Okay, I see.
district-wide for students.
Yeah, so if you look at the left box
Okay,
where that
I was
says
looking
WASDA
at, I was
standard.
looking at the
Yeah.
slides.
Yeah, if you look at the one where it's not slide, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So mine actually is slide 2.
I saw number 5 because it has the word old in it. I thought that was pretty,
There's no annual date for them either.
you know? They old for their schools. And that's what I do.
I think we have what the one at the top there,
That's standard 2.
standard 2, high expectation for student, which Larry, you talk about all the time.
Yeah, we could do that. Or I could do that.
As a matter of fact, I think that it was in your recent conversation, just that
Yeah.
message that you had sent the other day. There's something that was on that line.
Yeah, I was working on my personal goal.
That should be a focus, which, I mean, that right there is
Well, then,
the ultimate focus of
Mhm.
why we do everything.
everything, absolutely.
Now, strategies, struggle with that concept. I assume there are things going on in the school district already that I may or may not know about, which we as a board need to check on frequently to make sure, how are things going, how can we help you out,
Yeah,
what do you need,
yeah,
where are we falling short, those kinds of things.
yeah.
So on those strategies, there's things already happening.
So I see that as looking at our board agendas and saying, okay, where do these, for example, the continuous school improvement plans, that's going to drive a lot of our work this year. It's going to drive a lot of your work this year. It's actually going to drive all the work this year. So setting and communicating high expectations. So I would see that as a strategy would be that you ask questions when the school improvement plans show up before you approve them, and I won't put them on individually, so we'll have an opportunity to talk to each principal, and I've already given them a heads up that this is how it's going to be done and how much time they have to present, and then there'll be time for question and answers and what data needs to be on there. So, that would be one strategy. The other is, how engaged are our students? I mean, those are questions you can ask at the board table, because those are high expectations. How many students do we have in athletics? How many students do we have in performing arts? How many students, what's the attendance look like? How many students we have engaged in school? Just so it encompasses everybody. So those are the high expectations. We expect 100% of our students every day to come and be engaged and feel like they belong. Does not gonna happen 100% of the time, but that's our expectation, because, you know, I'm not gonna leave 2% of them out, so. So that would be how I would see those, but it would be really based on, board agenda information and, and the other thing is on Fridays, they're still going to be doing their weekly updates, the schools are. And then our professional development coordinator and our equity and family engagement, that information every single week. So, you know, there's another high expectation for you to say, okay, what else, you know, this is what we're doing. And so I just see those as dovetailing.
I just want to make sure, I mean, some of our strategy means we expect a report from you every month on this, which puts extra expectations on you. I know your board goal is very similar to that, your goal, superintendent goals.
And I shared my goals with the administrators, and they're gonna have goals of their own. So those goals should all dovetail, so that it's not extra work, it is the work.
And I assume one of these standards might allow us to ask, how are you doing? And your superintendent goals, how is the staff doing on theirs and their reports?
Yes.
You don't need to, you know, probably need the detail, I don't need to go to their meetings, probably to find out. But
Right, so,
some of these might be committee assignments also, I realize, but attend the high expectations committee meeting.
right, and one of the things I'm gonna start doing in September is, you know, we talked about in my superintendent's report, putting the goals down that I plan to address with you, so that at every one of our meetings, at least one or two of my goals will be on there on what I'm doing. And so I want to start that in September when we start back to school, and I mean, I've already started on some of them, and I'll report on those tonight, but I want to call it out.
So do we have all the standards covered yet, or is there something missing?
No, they're all covered. So if I'm not mistaken, Brian has number 1, standard 1, WASDA standard 1, Larry has standard 2, Jim has WASDA standard 3, Eric has WASDA standard 4, and Brandino has WASDA standard 5.
All righty.
So then my next question is, if you want to send me, you know, what you put into your strategies and your activities, I'm more than happy to organize that and put it in a document for everybody to look over, and then we can use it at the next meeting the next workshop that we have. And so I don't know what kind of timeline you're looking at, Andy. I don't want to rush it, but I don't want to drag it out.
No, we don't want to drag it out. I mean, I'm thinking it's our next board meeting, so we have this ready to.
Okay,
Yeah,
our next board meeting is on Jim's birthday, September 7th. And so if I could have them by, let's see, if this week is how about the 27th, a week from Friday?
Okay.
Does that work? Actually, a week from Thursday would be better, because then I can get it Friday with them.
6.
And school starts that,
Following week. Starts on the 1st, and then, but we have Labor Day on the 6th, so we have to have a meeting on Tuesday, so.
So 26th.
okay, all right.
What's the date, Dr. Prime?
I'm sorry, August 26th.
Okay. And that's you want a draft of the strategies, is that correct?
That's for the WASDA standard that you've selected, and then I'll put them all together and I'll send them out to everybody so you can look at them.
Okay. Sounds great.
You guys can talk about them at your September 7th workshop.
Yeah. Sounds good. And then we just as a reminder, so we've got the CE report here as well. So those are just some other items that you can review and refer to that as you're working on your standard as well.
And if there's anything else you need, don't hesitate to if there's anything else you need, don't hesitate to contact me. Any other data you want, or
So I'm also thinking which policies kind of go into that standard also. Now we have one more policy meeting before, two more. So that's the kind of lens that I would be looking at to connect those policies, because that's always a conversation out there of how is this connected, and yes, that's our foundation, is the policies too. So I think that's where, when I think of strategies, target one, activities to ensure mastery, we work. I think that would, or even under comments at the very least, I'll be something under comments. This is, relates to this policy. When, thinking of committees, when do you anticipate, say, starting rolling those out, some of those ones that were standard before?
like the finance committee and the policy committee, I'm thinking October.
Okay.
I need to get, we need to get people back to work first.
Yeah.
But I've already talked to the principals about who they might think about having on those committees, and talked with Darlene and Victoria about who we might have on those committees from the other areas in the district, so we'll get those rolling in October. I think Tracy probably already has them on my calendar.
I imagine she does.
Dr. Prine, can I ask a question about that? Are you also going to be involving association leaders for feedback on potential good candidates for certain committees?
Absolutely, top of the list, yes.
Okay.
I just wanted people to be able to get back to work and kind of get settled before I said, hey,
Guess
and
what?
guess what?
We got a meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not going home yet.
Yeah,
Meeting for the meeting.
so yes, always.
But
Couple things. We talked about it previously, either at a workshop or a board meeting, getting the school board members more involved in like your walk-arounds when you go visit schools, and so we can get out. It's a little bit intimidating for a school board member just to show up at the front door and say, hi, I want to visit. But if they know we're coming and we're coming with you, and it's kind of routine, so they get used to school board members just coming around and seeing what's going on.
That would be really fun, because I think we've scheduled school site visits, haven't we already? Not yet, but we're going
Yes.
to, because I want to do that every single week. So what I'll do is throw out some dates to all of you, and it would be nice if you could go with me to all the, because we have 6 sites, and so it's really doable. It's not like we have 50, you know.
Because I imagine that would be a strategy that might fit into multiple
yep.
standards,
Yeah.
to tell you the truth.
Well, it's really fun to visit the schools, especially when you go into
Yeah.
classes and
Yeah.
talk to kids. And
Number 2, our strategic plan, thinking what Dr. Campbell suggested about weaving equity and belonging and diversity into everything. I noticed our strategic plan is supposedly, is good till 2023. So I'm probably thinking in the back of my mind that whomever the new superintendent would be, that would be one of the goals, is to reestablish that committee. Because our strategic plan, as good as they are, don't have a strong equity, belonging, diversity thread running through them. And it would be nice to add that, but I think it would take another, I was on the strategic planning committee, and there's a lot of people and it took a lot of time, and I think that's what we need to do again, but it's, I assume like in 2023, we should have the new version ready to roll, but that would mean meeting in 22 and early
Right.
23 to get it all done.
So, and also what I heard from Dr. Campbell is this is the year we start to lay the foundation, and then at the end of this year, we start to look at. So it'd be a really appropriate time next year to revisit the strategic plan, because people will have a common language in the district, and, yeah, I mean, it's probably timing is perfect, actually.
You actually came up maybe with a new vision statement about everybody, students and parents, 100% will feel they belong to the Squim School District. I mean, that might be
Well,
an
I'll tell you,
appropriate
that's
vision.
my goal this year.
Yeah, well, I know, we can do it now, we don't have to wait till we revise it. We can start acting and talking that way right now. But I was thinking maybe that's the new vision that might, or, I don't know, it's down the road, but, something to think about, that these strategic plan will be revised, and there'll be a new one in 2023. Right?
It's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, that's correct.
Even past superintendents, past interim superintendents who are left-handed could be on that committee. Not to mention any names.
All right. Anything else? We'll move on. We'll take a break before our regular meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for putting everything together.
You're welcome.
Sometimes.
It probably can be on mine a little, when I looked at it, I thought, wow, there's
Yeah.
just a lot of words on there, but as I was going through it today to write down what we've started doing,
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, we could put all this in, so. Anyway,
All righty. Well, let's get a break before